Hello, my name is Markus Römer. I want to share with you today another GMP Detox session. It is a little bit something basic, fundamental, and if I work as an auditor, sometimes if I review documents, if I ask for records like the batch records or the device master records, device history records, analytical QC reports, and so on, sometimes I have slightly some problems, or first we must define some terms and definitions before we have a view on such records. What also happened to me is that when I was doing such audits, that I got once a weighing protocol, and I had on one single page, I had 17 signatures on this page. The quantity of signatures does not need to correlate with the correct information that is provided. Basically, in our industry, we give sometimes very often a lot of signatures. In this case, for example, when I was looking on the data, on the values that have been inserted, it was showing numbers with 5 digits, and the instrument only was showing 4. So then at this point, you must question the quality of the information that you get. Anyhow, the second thing is, if I work as consultant and we talk about the implementation of electronic systems like a LIMS system, electronic batch recording. So you want to have your batch production records as electronic records, or an eDHR, electronic device history record. You should also think about how you implement into automated work processes in workflows, how to implement initials and signatures, electronic signatures. And normally it starts to have a clear definition of the terms, review, verification, checks, and so on. I'm sharing my screen with you. I think that's today a little bit easier. Again, you won't find very clear definitions in the regulations. I think it's something that you have to do in your own organization, how to handle that, and that on different documents, the same things are provided in the same manner. Okay, so again, sometimes I hear in audits or even in consulting activities, we have reviewed that, or we want to implement a review step into this. And I just show you here one example, weighing protocol, for example, and you find different information on that. Whenever you look on reports or forms, especially also on electronic systems, there's a field label in front of that, performed verified on, for example, here, then there's a date. Maybe we'll also do one GMP detox session after we had it was the validated pen, and now we have review, check, verified, maybe also on date format. There's an ISO standard 8601, which should be followed, that you see the date format. Here it's shown as day, dot, month, dot, year. You can choose even something else. We might do that also, because giving date and times on electronic records, on printouts, on handwritten information is also very important. And then you see here different BOM positions, a material number, material name, and then you see manual entries by the operator. There we have a column which is called performed by. So the initials BR of that person, this person has performed it, and it was verified by a second person here. Below of that, you could have different other areas, like checked by date. So somebody has checked the data. I also have written here a check, in my understanding, is to verify it against another data source. Maybe here, for example, if you have a print or a printout of the balance, for example, then you have here the manual written value, and you could compare it with the printout of the system, for example. So if you have any other reference, you might check that with that. Mr. Homer Simpson was reviewing it. We will also talk about review, and Mr. Sheldon Cooper has approved this weighing protocol, also with the signature. And sometimes now, if you are in audit and you would have that kind of selection of different terms, in Germany, for example, it's very popular that somebody is also telling you, yes, we do that critical process step with 4 ICE principles. I have seen also that the US FDA is also using that. So it's saying it's a second operator. I understand here who has performed it. So who did the execution of that step? In general, if I read verified by, is that I understand that the second person was a witness of that. So it was executed by 2 persons. Sometimes these 4 ICE principles, and this is exactly also here with the verification. I understand that we had a witness during the execution to confirm, yes, the operator, the analyst, has done it correctly. Beside of that, if you would say, I have reviewed it, that could happen 1 day later or 1 week later, and it has another meaning than somebody has checked the data. So things like this could happen. The question is, what was exactly done? How was it reviewed, verified, or checked? What is the meaning of my signature if I'm a reviewer or if I sign something as checked by? As a German, I also must say there are some misconceptions sometimes also that English words are directly taken over in national language, which could cause problems because not everybody can understand it. And if you have a verb like review and you change that in other languages, you must also change the word itself, which could also lead to some problems. There are some basic definitions in English. I'm not a native speaker, but to supervise, to check, to examine, to superintend, or to observe things. So this is something that you should also keep in mind. What are your goals and your principles in that? In the regulations, I already mentioned the US FDA is also using the 4 ICE principles in GCP regulations, not yet in CGMP or anywhere else. I understand the 4 ICE principles exactly at the moment the process step and task is executed. You are using 2 pair of eyes, 4 eyes, so 2 persons, 1 person for the execution and 1 person as a witness. Then it's a real 4 ICE principles. If somebody's telling me 4 ICE principles, somebody's reviewing the document a day later, for example. And what does this review say? Basically, the review could only contain that the person, the person for execution have used the correct template and have inserted the values or the information, the content into the right columns or in the right table boxes or something like this. But it has another understanding, in my opinion, if you have witnessed something during exactly in the moment of the execution, or you just verify it a day later. I also mentioned here some other regulations, some call it a double check or all manual data entries should be verified either by a second operator or a validated computerized system. So plausibility checks, or you do additional checks, second operator. The WHO guidelines also use different expressions, second person check or verified by a second person. So you see they use different expressions, not only to review, also to be checked or to be verified. And the US FDA CGMP requirements also, you would find text, if you do a full text search on review, check or verify, that they use that in different definitions, in different interpretations. So what I do is, and I think it is our responsibility to do so, and even to have an eye on that for the entire organization, how we use that term. So not only to say we review that step, or we review the documents or whatever, really to ask what is behind of that. Especially if you do a transition from paper-based processes into electronic systems, it's not a good idea to do that one by one. It is changing the entire workflows. You should not forget that. So in my interpretation, there could be a better one. You can use your own one. This is pretty much like to CGMP, GMP manufacturing of medicines. There could be other business areas where you should use a different definition, but that is my proposal, what I suggest. Verified by, if I give that signature field into a form, then I want to have a second person being a witness during the execution. What we very often hear as the 4 eyes principles. You can even decide if that should be done by a peer review or a second person from another department. Usually you do that to avoid a conflict of interest or something like that. There are different steps that you can do. There's not always a wrong and right. And I could say you should define that on a risk-based and critical thinking of the process. Check by is somebody's verifying, checking the data after the execution, but you have the chance to have a logbook entry, an electronic print of a different electronic system to check if the data which is inserted or which is referenced in the record. So you have a second source where you can check the data, if it's consistent, if it's valid, if it's appropriate, if it's logical even, right? So that's a checked by step. The review by is basically a review of data of, I also call it a formal review to verify if the right procedure was followed, the right templates were used, the version of the form or whatever. Check of data consistency, then you must go back to check by. But if you don't have any second data source and you have not witnessed, you have not been a witness during the process, you cannot put there a review on that and have the expectation that the data is accurate, that the data is correct in this case. So again, this is my own interpretation. Verified, checked by, reviewed by. I think about that during the implementation of electronic systems. I have a few on records and reports during audits, or if you prepare for an inspection, that you should know what is the meaning of the signature and that you are very clear within your own organization what terms and definitions you are using. So finally, for electronic systems, we might also do a different GMP Detox session on that, maybe in the next session or later, is when should we apply full signatures. So if you have in a predicate rule saying this record data should be dated and signed, it should be approved, then you must apply a full signature and initials. We use that on the paper basis for sure. And how should initials look like in electronic systems? So maybe, is it a category, a type of an audit trail, like a single sign-on, an activity trail, or an event trail, which could replace the initials, like we have it here for performed and verified by, for example. So I hope that was maybe a good thought, a good trigger for you to think about review, verifications, checking, reviews, and approvals of things like this. And we will see you soon here. If you like it, give me a like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much. That was today review verification checked by. Thank you so much.